To those that live in Italy, how is the situation right now with coronavirus and lockdown? I live in the heart of the Lombardy region. All my family has it and my granduncle died. People just stay home and that's it. There is not much to do and shops are closed. You can hear ambulances all day and night. My uncle is in the hospital with a high fever. His wife got it as well, but she is home as her symptoms are milder. My cousin is taking care of her and miraculously she is fine. However, her grandpa died and she couldn't even go to visit him. Her grandma is sick as well and she can't see her either, and she can't see her dad. Hospitals are closed. The available hospital beds in intensive care have run out and doctors are making tough choices for who to try to save, which is terrifying considering most of my family is old and they might not get a bed. Doctors are overworked and tired, and since I know many people that work in the hospital, they are sharing with me these gruesome pics of people recovered in the intensive care unit. They are intubated and it just is a sad view. Hospitals are so full of people on life support because of coronavirus. People are amassed on the corridors because they lack rooms. My friend who gets people with the ambulance is working non-stop to get people who are in critical conditions. People keep saying it's just a flu. Yes, sure, but a flu without having had a vaccine can be quite dangerous. The youngest person I know that has it, he is in his 40s and has had 40 degrees Celsius temperature for 2 weeks straight and counting. Don't catch it, it's really not fun even if your immune system is strong. Trust me on this, I have seen the repercussion on my family firsthand. No church is open or public event is held. Since Italy is primarily populated by old people, we are used to see the streets being empty and everything being quiet. Right now is just quieter. They couldn't even hold the funeral for her grandpa. My grandma woke up sick and I truly hope she has something else. So many people in my city have it and yet they keep going around the city and spreading it. Incredible. Some people go to the supermarket and get out of it with tons of food so that they don't need to go shopping again. Others, like my grandma, go every day because how else is she going to get fresh bread? Luckily we have convinced her that she cannot go anymore and she said from tomorrow she won't leave the house. Just this Sunday she had to go to church to confess. The town priest has been taken to the hospital today because he catched coronavirus and he is in critical conditions. I wonder how this death count will go up now that the hospitals are overfilled. Rumor has it that my cousin's grandma got it because she was in the hospital being treated because she broke her back, but I can't be sure about this, so this is just our personal speculation based on no real evidence, so don't take my word for it. Thank you all for the well wishes. Hopefully my most immediate family won't catch it. Wow everyone, thank you so much. Stay safe and be prepared. Keep old people inside. Right now I'm in my office in Tuscany, 20 miles away from my home. This morning at 7 AM we hadn't any problem moving around, but I don't know how things will evolve outside my workplace. There are a lot of different informations about what you can and what you can't do from all the media, so I'm here hoping to not getting sick and still be capable at least to move to home tonight and maybe came back to work in the next days. Some say life goes on like always, others say everything is compromised. I'm just here, waiting for things to develop. I have friends in northern Italy quarantined in their homes, my mum in hospital working with face masks, and generally people freaking out. They say grocery shopping will be guaranteed, so overall I'm not even worried about it. Maybe is the chance to have some days off and enjoy my home and some games. Unrequested update, is 6 PM. While working we got a document to show to police officers if we get stopped while going from a commune, something like US municipalities, to another. In this document we declare who we are and why we aren't in our home. You can move by car, bike, whatever if you have to meet your family, older people who need care, children and so on, or go to work. Every other reason is forbidden. Right now you still can go around the commune where you live without almost any problem. You only have to keep distance from people around you. Traffic is quite low, compared to last week for example, but people still do their things. A lot of non-fundamental services are closed, but you can still go to a pharmacy, hospital, gas stations and big workplaces like industries. Social life is paused, almost everything else is still active in my life. I am a doctor who works at one of the largest hospitals in Rome. The situation seems much worse than reported in the news. We are scared, but we continue to go to work for a sense of responsibility by turning. We do not have suitable safeguards for our protection, such as FFP3 masks. US Doc here. How are you guys responding to non-COVID problems? If so many resources are being allocated to this virus, I have to wonder if you guys are seeing a spike in mortality from things that are usually easily treated, that is cholecystitis, appendicitis, etc. Are you trying to do more temporizing measures such as IV antibiotics and percutaneous drainage tubes rather than doing full surgeries at this point in time? Only emergency treatment is guaranteed. I know for certain that in northern Italy entire hospitals have been completely dedicated to the COVID emergency, but in Rome we are not yet in this situation. Right now we are simply postponing what is able to be postponed. Why did it get so bad in Italy, anyway? It seems so disproportionate and random that Italy of all places got slammed by this disease. A few factors were against Italy that made it such a hotbed. It is a massive tourist destination. Italy has one of the largest tourist industries in the world, ranked 5 by number of visits in 2018. It attracts food tourists, its wine regions are popular, it has stunning beaches, and then we have the cultural aspect, whether that's the Roman ruins or medieval or Renaissance architecture. This means that Italy was pretty much sure of getting some people who were infected. Once the infection started, Italy has another key factor. It has one of the oldest populations on Earth. 5th, 3rd if we don't count tiny places like Monaco or Saint Miquelon. This means that it is extremely sensitive to an infection that disproportionately affects the elderly. For a benchmark, the median age in Italy is 7 years older than the US. As such, the amount of people who will die requiring medical attention for this disease is higher. Italy's response following initial infection was one of the most comprehensive and aggressive of any nation outside of Asia, if not the most. This means massive amounts of testing. As such, the numbers are a relatively accurate representation of the actual rate of sickness in the country. Places like the US could very well have as many, if not more, people currently ill with coronavirus. But no one knows. Some countries seem to be applying a strategy that I'd call I can't hear you which is extremely effective at keeping the reported number of confirmed cases down, but doesn't necessarily do much to deal with the actual number of people infected. So we know why it was extremely likely that Italy would get caught up in this, we know why it is having such a drastic impact on Italy and its health services, and we know why Italy's numbers are so high. I live in neighboring Switzerland, and the approach seems to be see no coronavirus, hear no coronavirus. This country's approach is, basically, if you have any symptoms, self-quarantine. This is silly, because it expects people to act rationally, and most people are either in the oh my god we're all going to die camp or in the it's nothing, I don't care camp. The latter group is particularly worrisome, because they would be the group that would tend to continue to go to work, go into public spaces, despite coughing, having a fever, etc. If you're not in an at-risk group, that is over 60 or suffering from pre-existing medical conditions, don't go to the hospital if you have symptoms. Call the state medical department and self-quarantine. No one is imposing anything on anyone. So if I start to fall ill, I could spend my day in a shop, coughing on things and people, and that would be fine. The goal of the government is not to stop infections, but slow down the rate, so that it doesn't overwhelm the health system. So, are you implying that the problem is just as bad elsewhere, but only Italy is being so proactive about stopping it? Italy is most likely a few days, possibly a week ahead of other nations in its infection rates. So it is still most likely worse there than other places. I fully expect other countries to soon be in the same sort of boat, though. Switzerland went from 1 to 100 in a week, and in about 4 days is now up to 375. This is representative of the growth factor that we saw in Italy. Obviously, the population is smaller, but so far it seems to be a few days behind Italy in terms of infection rates. Fundamentally though, the problem is that many places simply aren't engaging in lots of testing. We know this disease is highly contagious. We know that it has an incubation period of around 5 days. If we look at Spain, for example, it went from 100 infect to 1000 infected in a week. This is the same rate, roughly, as in Italy, between the 23rd and 29th of February. In other words, Spain is about 10 days behind Italy. I would expect Spain, by the 20th of March, to be sitting roughly where Italy is today, that is somewhere between 9k-10k infected. Things are probably worse in Italy than elsewhere, but it's a question of days until shit hits the fan elsewhere. More than this problem will not be as bad in other countries. I basically live in the epicenter of the outbreak of coronavirus here in Italy. Things are difficult for me because I am far from my parents, like 1 hour drive. They are in their 70s and I am stuck because I don't wanna go home since I am scared I could possibly infect them. But at the same time I wanna help them with groceries and stuff. I am currently working from home and going out only once a week to do grocery shopping. To move between different towns we need a document attesting that we are either going home, work or it's an emergency. The hardest part is hearing the daily update of the number of deaths and sick people. Every day we are told that hospitals cannot accept people anymore. All the hospitals here in the Lombardy region are saturated. Nurses and doctors are falling sick too. If you need to go to an emergency room, even if it is not for the coronavirus, they cannot help you and this feeling is devastating. Moreover, there are no masks around. It's impossible to find them and hospitals are finishing them too. Waking up every day to this is hard, but I'm still hopeful that this thing will end soon. I'm a university student, and since last week we have been doing lessons via Microsoft Teams or Google Classrooms. I don't really like these methods, but it's the only alternative, so there's a fair amount of psychosis between a big chunk of the population. Supermarkets have been raided overnight. We are advised to not leave our houses unless it's necessary, but you can fill a form on your own to certify that you need to go to work. So basically everyone is running around without a real examination of that form because literally anyone can do that. The only thing that has been really impacted by this is nightlife and sports, since every league of every sport is suspended until April. I have a daughter living in Serrano, but she works in Milano. She is housebound, on lockdown. Her courses are being done via Skype. Her employer has asked her not to come to work. She is not allowed to leave her house unless it is an emergency, which I hope never happens. She says there has been quite a bit of panic buying at the supermarkets. All the restaurants are pretty much empty, however they are allowed to be open between 6 AM and 6 PM. People who are seated should have at least a 1 meter distance between them at restaurants. Tourist areas, Egg Duomo in Milano, are devoid of almost anybody. All school and universities remain closed. All sporting or any kind of events have been suspended. Ski resorts are closed. The same for cinemas, theaters, discos. All church services have been suspended. Whilst the measures may seem extreme, Italy has been the hardest hit worldwide besides for China, so it's necessary to curb travel and cultural activities to stop the spread of the virus.